So far, we've been talking about ways to make your packages dynamic, and we've talked about using variables to do so. Well, variables are just one of the techniques that you can use to make a package dynamic. Variables are they're useful, they're helpful, but when combined with expressions in SSIS, they really make your package really dynamic. So you've got to get used to and be comfortable with the SSIS syntax for expressions. So an expression, SSIS expressions. It's kind of like a sub-language. It is a language in SSIS that allows you to make decisions at runtime. You're going to assign values to properties using the expressions, and you're going to do so at runtime. So let me just write that down. Let's choose yellow because that probably shows up pretty well in this gray. SSIS expressions allow you to assign values to properties at runtime. And there's a couple of keywords here. Number one would be properties. So anything, any task, any connection manager, any container that exposes properties, you're going to be able to assign those the value of those at runtime. Okay, so that's the whole purpose of the SSIS expression language, SSIS expression syntax. Now the SSIS expression syntax is nothing. It's really, really simplistic. If you've done any sort of coding, I don't care whether it's SQL or a more object-oriented language. Let's see, the basics, if you're familiar with C#, the basics are very, very similar. So let's see, let me come back down. I'll do this in yellow again. So for the SSIS expression syntax, let's just say put double quotes around literal string data. For example, Scott, if I wanted to embed Scott. The equality comparison operator, or the equality operator, is two equal signs. So, like for example, first name equal Scott. Okay. That's about it. There's a couple of other things that you'll have to figure out. I'll show you a couple of them as we go, but by and large, everything else works the exact same way as it would in Transact SQL or Java or Visual Basic. Really nothing difficult about the language. The key thing that you want to know is what can I use this for and how do I use it? So I've got a pretty quick example here. If you need to read this again, go ahead and pause the video or take a screenshot, whatever you need to do. I'm moving on. So coming over here to the Visual Studio, what I'm going to do is just make us a blank package here. And what I'm going to build as our base is simply a data flow to export SQL Server data to a text file. Okay? We've done it a bunch of times so far. So this is actually very easy. So I go in, I grab my OLEDB source, and I'll make a new connection manager, deleting what was there before. I'll connect to my local host using the native client. I'll use the AdventureWorks 2008 database that we've been using the whole time here. And I'll just grab the human resources department. The source is not really important. You could do anything here. It's not going to change any of what we're doing. My destination is just going to be a flat file. So I don't need to do any transformations. I've got a fairly simple source. So I'm going to make a new connection manager, just leave it the auto default name. And let's call the file originalfile.txt. Okay? There's nothing hard about what we're doing so far, right? This is things we've done dozens of times thus far. Map everything up. run it just to make sure my package is successful. So kind of bring this guy down a little, and you two, bring you up because I do want to see a little bit about that. So we sent out 18 rows, and there's our original file .text. Okay, now let's bring expressions into the game. So expressions, you can find these in a couple of different places. What I want to do, so my goal, I'm going to add an annotation here. It says, change the file name at runtime. So just to make sure everyone can read, I'll just do this. So we want to change the name of the destination file name at runtime to be whatever we want. I'll make it called scott.txt, for example. So we need to change the destination file name. And so here's what we need to do. What controls the name of the destination file? This is a really important question. So what controls the name of the destination file? Is it the flat file destination, or is it the flat file connection manager? Which is it? It's the flat file connection manager. Okay, so big check mark right there if you got that one right. This is the one that controls the file name. This flat file destination up here, that simply does the mapping of the column names. That's all that one's doing. It's receiving the transformations. It's not responsible for creating the file. It's not responsible for what data types go into the file. That's what the connection manager's job is. So here's what I do. I go over to my connection manager and I go to properties. And I get this properties window right here. And there's a bunch of things over here that we can note here. Notice that I've got that chosen in my little drop down. So you can drop this down and choose other connections, other tasks, other containers. This is also not the only way to get there. If I close this out, I can just highlight the flat file connection manager and go to view properties window, which you see also has the F4 associated with it. It's the exact same thing. Just highlight it and hit F4. Click on it, brings that up. So notice that it will change depending on what I click on, the properties. So remember, you can change properties at runtime using an expression. So here's your expression set right here. Now what you see, and I'm not sure we've covered this too much, that little plus sign that you would expand is identifying that this contains a collection. So in other words, you can assign multiple expressions for this connection manager. In fact, there may be some examples of ones that we can't, but just about every row that you see here, you're going to be able to change at runtime because these are properties. So we want to change the file name at runtime, right? So see if you can. I'm going to kind of be quiet here for a couple of seconds. I want you to look through the side over here and see if you find which property will allow us to change the file name, the destination file name. Shouldn't take you too long. It's the fifth one down. It's this one right here, right? So the connection string property stores the actual file name, the destination file name. So what we need to do is we need to go down here to our expressions, and we need to, at runtime, change the value of the connection string to be what we want it to be. So let's do that. Come over here. Notice the little, what we call an ellipsis here. I click on that, and you can see all of the properties that are available for this particular task / connection manager / container that you can change at runtime. And there's the one we want, right? That's our connection string. So I would choose connection string, and then here's another little ellipsis. I could type the expression in if I specifically knew what I wanted, but usually I find myself going to the expression builder. And that's what this is, the expression builder. Now, in the next video, we're going to take a look at using the expression builder a little stronger. Right now, I'm just going to focus on writing my own custom expression down here at the bottom. So do you remember our rules? String data goes inside of what? Single quotes or double quotes? Double quotes. So double quote. I have to put the full path, the full connection string to the text file. So C Scott.text. Fair enough. Now you see this nice little button right here, the evaluate expression button. This will show you in this little gray box here what your expression will be seen as by SSIS. So evaluate it, I get an error. And it says that you've got a /s, and it doesn't know what that means. Okay, so the slash, the backslash, is a special character. And if you want to actually use a backslash, then you have to use it twice. To use a backslash, put it twice. Okay, so we can't use this expression. This fails because you've got the backslash only one time, so you have to put it in there twice. And so what you're doing is you're saying, you know what, this is no longer a special character. I actually want to put in a backslash. And when I evaluate the expression, now it evaluates correctly. And so I say OK. And when we come back over here, you can see the connection string still shows original file.txt, but when we execute the package by hitting F5 now, and we take a look, you could see that it actually did create the file scott.txt. Okay. So expressions change properties at runtime. That's what they do. So I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's go ahead and end this one now. Let's come back in the next video and talk about how to assign properties to expressions with variables in them. And I'll show you what that syntax is like.